Alright, today we're going to be looking at my undefeated Kaido deck at locals. These were my matchups here, and I was kind of surprised. I went against 0 green. I was expecting green to be like what I would see the most, but I saw none of it. In fact, I think I mainly saw black at locals when I was looking all around, so that was pretty sick. The deck, I did still end up winning, so that was very, very cool, and it really gave me like a better perspective on where I think Kaido is in this meta, but I just want to test into a bunch of other matchups. Before we get into the list, I want to show what my prize was. So I got this tournament kit, volume 1 here, and that's kind of sick. So I think it's 32 of the normal packs. These are the packs that contain like the Luffy, the Law, the Kaido, and stuff like that. And then it has 32 of the normal packs and 4 of the winner packs. So probably just gonna sell this because I'm not really interested in those cards. But with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the list. So obviously this is my leader Kaido here. I don't even know if I use its ability all day, but the ability is just down -7, trash of life. So we have 4 Hannibal here, and this is a new card from set 2, and this card's sick. It searches for impel down cards, so it searches for like this blocker, or it can search for this attacker here, Magellan, or it can even search for the new broken defensive event, Judgment of Hell. And if you guys don't know what Judgment of Hell does, it down -1 and it does -3k to 2 different units. Absolutely crazy card. So Hannibal is a huge MVP. I used it a lot today. I fielded it against Smoker. I'm trying to reevaluate that now. I probably shouldn't have fielded it against Smoker because he just got free 7k swings the whole game, but it was very sick card. We have 4 of this blocker here. The reason you use 4 of this one before you use 4 of any other blockers is just because it's searchable off of Hannibal here, but nice blocker was searchable. I played 3 Higurashi, so I don't have the normal 8 2-cost blockers. I might change that up. The only reason I didn't do it is because I opted for a 3rd Jack because I was just so scared of not seeing Onigashima, and I made this list like right before the tournament, but turned out pretty well. Probably will go back to a 4th of this, so I'll have 8 2-cost blockers in total. Then we have this right here, just a 2k counter. The reason I played this 2k over the other ones is because it can be played out of life, so it can like randomly give us lethal if we see it out of life against like any deck. Like if we see it like later in the game and we just hit this out of life, suddenly we can have lethal. So that's basically the logic behind it. You just generally don't field your 2k counters in general, so the 2k counters don't really matter. But I think that this having a trigger effect makes it like one of the 2ks you should play over the other ones. Then I have 3 Jack. So as I said, I was scared of not seeing Onigashima. That's the main reason I did 3 Jack. 2 Jack is probably the correct amount. That way I can go back to the 4th Higurashi. So that's probably definitely what I would change. Then we have 4 Little Sadi here. Just another 2k counter. I don't even run the combo, so this 2k counter technically doesn't matter. But this is still impel down, which means it's searchable off of Hannibal. So that's the reason I use this over the other 2k counters. This counter here isn't impel down, but as I said earlier, it does have the trigger effect. So I think that just makes it better than others. And then I have 4 Queen. There's not really too much to say about Queen, right? Draw 2, discard 1. Queen's insane, bro. Like, Queen is still insane in set 2. It's probably still going to be insane in Kaido in set 3. Like, just a really good card. Even purple and black uses this card. Like, Queen is just too strong. We have 4 Magellans. So, I have 3 Magellans and the 1 Altar. I pulled this right before the tournament, as I kind of mentioned earlier. I just kind of put this list together before the tournament, and I think Magellan's really insane. So we need to talk about Magellan for a second. I think this card is absolutely insane against green. I think this card can let you beat green even if you don't see Onigashima, because if you go second against green and you play Magellan on curve, all of a sudden their 7 down turn instead becomes a 6 down turn, so they can't play their 7-cost kid, they can't play their Odin and stuff like that, and delaying green for like a whole turn is absolutely insane. Obviously they can still play like Okikus and Yamatos and stuff like that, but you don't care. Like, you just delayed them fielding their big unit for a whole turn, and that just puts so much more pressure on the green opponent. And then obviously Magellan's an attacker that's very annoying for any deck to get rid of, because if they get rid of it, they have to send 2 down back. So I really think Magellan's really good. Some Kaido players don't run Magellan. I know that there were some like top talent lists that don't run it, and I think it's technically not mandatory, but if you expect a lot of green in the meta, I think Magellan is absolutely insane. And I use it as an attacker all day, like for the whole locals. Like, I use it in every matchup, even though I play no green. Like, it's just such a threatening attacker that your opponent really doesn't want to get rid of. So very sick card. Then I have 4 King. I think 4 6-cost King is just, you just always need 4 6-cost King. You can play it on curve going second, even if you don't see Onigashima, or going first. You can play it turn 3, which is one of Kaido's strongest plays. You can play it turn 3 if you see Onigashima. So very insane. 2 7-cost King. This should have been a 3 of for sure. I just didn't have the 3rd King, so that's the only reason I used 2. I'd probably once again cut like the Jack or maybe Magellan or something like that, just to find a way to fit in the third king. Honestly, I'd probably cut like a 10 cost Kaido or something as well, because I have 3 of them, which I'll talk about. But king is very, very sick. Being able to pop a 2 and a 3 cost is very nice against pretty much any deck, because you just pop low blockers like it's nothing. And I think there were a few times where I wish I had 7 cost king where I didn't, so I think 3 is probably the right amount. It's probably really good against green and red as well. Red is one of your worst matchups, and this is also clutch against red green law. I think this is one of the cards that allows you to maybe beat red green law even if you don't see Onigashima, so very huge card. Then I have 3 10 cost Kaido. I don't think I use 10 cost Kaido once, like except in the mirror. Like having the third was nice in the mirror because I was just holding it in my hand the whole game, because I did play against the mirror round 4, which kind of surprised me. But this honestly could go down to 2 of. I'd probably run the third king, or I'd run like a 9 cost Kaido or Douglas Bullet. I think Douglas Bullet would be pretty insane against Marco, because I still really want to test this against the Whitebeard matchup, because I did beat Whitebeard, but it felt pretty sketchy. So even like a 1 of Douglas Bullet or something over the third Kaido could be very, very huge. So I'll probably be testing that out. And then lastly, we have the events. I have 4 Judgment of Hell. As I kind of mentioned earlier, Judgment of Hell is, bro, this card's insane, bro. Minus 3k to 2 different units, and it's searchable off Hannibal. I basically have 8 copies. Like, it's the most consistent defensive spell I can see, and it's my strongest defensive spell. I think this card really does change up the game for Kaido. I think it makes your red problem less worse, because now you can set 2 attackers to low amount. You can also reduce the deep, is it called DP? The power, sorry, my bad. You can also reduce like the power of multi-attack swingers such as like King or 8 cost Odin. I think it's insane, man. Like, this card is just too strong. Then I had 3 Blast Breath. Blast Breath was also good. I just didn't have space for the 4th, and I think Judgment of Hell is always at 4 first, just because it's searchable and it's the better defensive spell. And then lastly, 4 Onigashima, of course, because you like Onigashima is like the whole deck, right? You see this, your deck's insane. If you don't, kind of mid. I will say that I think I only missed Onigashima I think I missed it twice. One of the games I had Jack, so that was clutch, and then the other game I just didn't see it, but we managed to fight it out, and then I saw it on like my 3rd or 4th turn. So you definitely want to see this card, but even if you don't see it, I think like against green it's possible with Magellan, or I think Jack can help cover your bases for a bit. That's it for the deck list. With that being said, before I exit out here, I do want to talk about some like future things I'd maybe run in the deck. So I was thinking of adopting like a high amount of blockers maybe, because I was playing earlier and like against Whitebeard, like I think you really want blockers against Whitebeard, because if you take life early game against Whitebeard, you just can't defend against Moby Dick late game. So just having blockers in order to defend yourself against Moby Dick is pretty huge. So even more of the Black Maria or Higurashi would be pretty huge. I kind of mentioned 9 cost Kaido. I think 9 cost Kaido is pretty clutch against Whitebeard as well if your opponent only has 1 Marco. And I think it's just generically good. I don't think it's mandatory in the deck, because I think 6 and 7 cost king can just pop a lot of stuff, but I think it is pretty good against Marco. So I would probably either consider a 1 of 9 cost Kaido or a 1 of Douglas Bullet. And then this card, I played against no Zoro, but I imagine that this card could be pretty solid against Zoro. So it's just a 4 cost down -1, and it pops a unit of, I believe it's cost 1 or less. Yeah, KO is a unit of cost 1 or less. So I think that could be really clutch against not only Zoro, but Red Green Law as well. I mean, I think your Red Green Law matchup's already pretty solid with 7 cost king, but just running this for Zoro and also having the additional benefit of doing good against Red Green Law is pretty nice. And then lastly, I don't know why Jack is here, but lastly, Thunder Bagua. I think there's definitely room for Thunder Bagua instead of Blast Breath, because there were some situations where I had the Blast Breath, but I was like, man, I do not want to minus a down right now. So I think Thunder Bagua does have a better trigger, and there are situations where it's like arguably better than Blast Breath, but there were also times where I kept up 3 down, and just being able to like have Blast Breath as like a 1 cost option that I can use alongside Hell's Judgment is pretty huge. So I don't know, like I would definitely consider this, because I think this not down minusing is pretty huge, and it even down pluses you. But like that 1 cost for Blast Breath is good as well. But I think it is something that's worth testing. I don't think Blast Breath is necessarily mandatory in the deck anymore. And that's it for this Kaido list, man. So this is what I went for with that locals. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions, what you guys think about Kaido. Honestly, it did a lot better than I expected. Like the only reason I really played it was because I didn't have another deck to play. But it did good and it felt good. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.